Okay, so back in January when I made that video of me turning on my HP EliteBook 855 G4 for the very first time, I didn't know it yet, but I would actually be using that laptop for several months at school. And during those couple of months, I actually worked on the school yearbook, and I did a lot of photo editing using DaVinci Resolve Fusion on that very HP laptop. I even made a 3D mock-up of the yearbook, and that would drain the battery from 100 to empty in a single period. So I figured, if I'm gonna be doing more graphic design and more stuff on my laptop, then I think I'm gonna need something just a little bit better. So I went onto eBay, and I started looking for ThinkPads. It had to have amazing battery life, it had to be faster than the other one, and it had to be decently well built. And the ThinkPad T580, in my opinion at least, 100% matches the criteria. So I ordered it, and I got it. Okay, so I've always wanted this. These are incredibly popular. It has a broken screen, it's kind of falling apart, but today I'm going to fix that. So here we go. Let's open it up here. There we go. It is really nice and clean actually. Now obviously this needs a little bit of work. Alright, let's plug it in. Light flashed. It's got a red light. Now the problem now was that I didn't have a charger for the dang thing, so I had to buy my own. It's weird, why the hell? Alright, so now the reason why this laptop currently looks so weird is because I just put a random display I had lying around in it. And because the display was physically a teeny tiny bit too big, it didn't actually fit within the display assembly, so I had to just tape it on. Let's take this out. Let's plug it in here and hope it works. The display is not turning on. The freaking connector isn't even in there properly. Oh, look at that! So now the next problem that I have to deal with is the battery. This ThinkPad T580 has the biggest freaking battery ever. Look at that. 4 billion milliwatt hours. Let's see how long it lasts. And this is the best part of the ThinkPad because it supports massive batteries, and I wanted to go with the largest one, which is 72 watt hours. And well, the battery is pretty freaking good. And I think that with just regular usage, 10% of battery would probably equal around an hour of usage. Not to mention the fact that it actually supports 2 batteries. The 72 watt hour battery is actually the external battery, but it also supports a 31 watt hour internal battery, which I didn't end up installing because, well, I don't really need it. And then for the display, I just ended up getting a regular 1080p 30-pin non-touch display and installed it. I'm momentarily checking if my ThinkPad T580 has a dedicated GPU in it, like the MX150. Wait, please. It's taking a while. It doesn't have the sticker of the two. So. Now that part of the video that you just saw was actually made around 5 months ago, and it was never finished. But let's move on to 5 months later, when I've actually been using the laptop for a good amount of time. Alright, so I've been using this ThinkPad T580 laptop for all my school stuff, and while it's a super good and a super capable laptop, in this vlog I'm going to be upgrading this laptop. So, there are some things that are currently wrong with this laptop. The keyboard's really annoying because the O never worked properly. The battery doesn't last very long. I got a 72 watt hour battery, and it only took 6 months for it to get to under 80% battery health, which is really bad. I might get a new battery for this. It only has 256 gigabytes of storage. Okay, let's do this. So I'm going to be cloning this laptop to this 512 gig drive. First I'm going to order the keyboard, and the first upgrade I'm going to do is the SSD upgrade. I'm going to take the SSD out of this thing, and I'm also going to take this SSD, and I'm going to put both SSDs in my actual desktop computer. So the reason why I'm doing that is because I don't have any other way to actually clone the drive, so that's what I'm going to be doing.
Febreze, when you host, your bathroom can feel like a daze. So even after every flush,
Man, we'll trust each other. You want your money? You need to do as I say.
Life is a lot like chess.
Life is a lot like chess.
There we go. And so now I can put the SSD in. Let's open this thing up again. So let's add the drive letters to both of these. For the 500 gig drive, I know that it's just got a Linux thing on it, which I don't really care about anymore, so I'm just going to delete that. Now to clone the data from the smaller drive to the larger drive, I had to use a free software. And the only software that was free that actually did what I needed it to was a software called Macromedia Reflex, which is actually endorsed by
the greatest technician that's ever lived.
Which should be good, right? Alright, let's just find it if it boots. Yeah, it didn't actually work, and when the transfer was done, it said transfer failed, so I decided to do it again. Come on, please. Yeah, it seems like it works. Now, while doing this, I accidentally ruined the Windows installation on my main computer. but that's unrelated. Alright, let's boot her up now, finally. Let's hope that this works. Gotta clean the screen. The actual drive is in there. Whoa! Now the actual partition that the Windows thing is on is still 256 gigs. I have to expand it to 512. See, I'm low on disk space. Alright, there's the drive. So now I'm gonna right click, hit, oh, you can't extend it? What? But it turns out you need third-party software to be able to do that. And the first third-party software I tried is something called EasyOS Partition Manager.
All you have to do is just take this slider right here and drag it out like this.
Wait, what? Oh my god. And then I used a tool called Mini Tool Partition Wizard, and that actually worked. Alright, let's drag this slider to the max. Just hit apply. Oh yeah, look at that. I now have a 512 gig drive. Finally. Now the thing about my current T580 is that it currently has an Intel Core i5 8350U. And I've seen benchmarks of the i7 8650U and 8550U. The boost clock on those CPUs are higher, but then obviously the cooling isn't that great, so it's going to thermal throttle it to the same level that the 8350U just runs at, which makes the upgrade to an i7 basically negligible. You can see that an 8650U would get 2000 on the multi-thread, but if I bench my 8350U, gets 1800. Alright, so I just undervolted the crap out of my 8350U, and I ended up getting 2126 points, which is super impressive for this thing. And after undervolting the T580, it made it way more efficient, because at the same clock speeds it ran cooler and drew less watts from the battery. You can see that in the scripts document, I've actually written out the wattage and clock speed under load for this CPU. So you can see that at 10 watts, with the undervolt, it runs at 1.83 gigahertz, but without the undervolt, it only runs at 1.4. And the diminishing returns on the watts you put in versus the speed you get sort of stops around here. You need to give it 30 watts for it to get to 3.3 gigahertz, but you only need 12 watts to get it to 2 gigahertz. So if you have a similar CPU or laptop that you're looking to undervolt, definitely do it. You do need an older BIOS version though. With the newer BIOS updates, they fixed the plundervolt vulnerability, which is basically a virus that stops the voltage from going to the CPU. But if you have that update, you also won't be able to undervolt anything. I think my BIOS version is from 2019, and it's before they released the plundervolt patch. So yeah, a little tidbit, if you want your laptop to be more efficient, don't always run it at full speed because the diminishing returns around 12 watts. Now also, I'm gonna make a part 2 to this video in like a couple of months from now because the keyboard that I ordered at the beginning of this video hasn't arrived yet. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you loved it, please subscribe, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video.